For 50 years, humanity believed in the promise of the stars. We joined the Galactic Mandate as junior partners, sharing our knowledge, our resources, our soldiers. We were the eager students, and they were the ancient, wise teachers. Or so we thought. In the great hall where peace was supposed to be forged, a trap was sprung. A betrayal 50 years in the making. And humanity was sentenced not just to exile, but to extinction. When a lone ambassador uncovers a plot to enslave his entire species, how will he escape the heart of an empire? What impossible secret has humanity been building in the dark, right under the noses of their arrogant masters? And what happens when a 10,000-ship armada arrives to wipe out a primitive species, only to discover they have provoked a sleeping giant with weapons beyond their darkest nightmares? The Galactic Council betrayed humanity. Now they're running for their lives. Before the story begins, know that your subscription is a beacon in the void. Support our channel by subscribing and liking this video. Every signal helps us chart the unknown. Alright, let's begin the story. Then, the Great Hall of the Galactic Mandate shimmered under the light of 3 artificial suns. Ambassador Elias Thorne adjusted his collar, the fine Terran silk feeling like a noose around his neck. He tried to hide his nervousness as he walked alongside his small team of human representatives. After 50 years of what was called peaceful cooperation, humanity had finally been invited to attend their first official session as candidates for full membership. The circular chamber housed over 300 different species, each in hovering platforms arranged in ascending rings of power and influence. Thorne noticed how the other diplomats whispered among themselves as the human delegation made their way to their assigned platform, the smallest and lowest in the entire chamber. "Something feels wrong," whispered Commander Jax, Thorne's security chief. The veteran soldier's instincts had saved their lives more than once. Thorne nodded slightly, but maintained his professional smile. The Mandate had been acting strange for months. Trade agreements canceled without explanation. Communication with Earth's colonies reduced to a trickle. Still, nobody had expected this. High Archon Forlag, a tall, skeletal being with gray skin and multiple, unblinking eyes, rose from his central platform. "The Mandate recognizes the human delegation," he announced, his translator making his words echo through the vast chamber. "We have gathered today to address the human question." Thorne felt his blood run cold. This was not the trade agreement discussion they had been promised. "For 50 years, we have watched humanity spread through their allocated space," the High Archon continued. "We have observed their rapid technological advancement, their unsanctioned military buildup, and their unchecked expansion." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Thorne looked around, his heart sinking. Delegates from species that had praised human ingenuity just a year ago were now nodding in stern approval. "The Mandate has concluded that humanity poses an unacceptable risk to galactic stability," Forlag declared, his voice ringing with finality. "We therefore put forth a motion for immediate containment and forced relocation of all human colonies." Thorne stepped forward, his diplomatic training screaming at him to remain silent, but the sheer injustice of it was too much. "This is outrageous. We have followed every regulation. We have signed every treaty. We have been peaceful partners." "Partners?" A delegate from the third ring, a corpulent creature floating in a vat of green liquid, laughed. The sound was like bubbling mud. "You were test subjects. We needed to understand your capabilities, your weaknesses. Every trade agreement, every technological exchange, was designed to study and limit your development. You failed the test." The truth hit Thorne like a physical blow. The canceled trades, the diplomatic delays, the restricted zones around their colonies. It had all been part of a plan, a 50-year-long experiment. "We call for an immediate vote," the High Archon announced. "The motion to contain humanity and begin the relocation process." Thorne watched in horror as, one by one, nearly every platform lit up with a green light of approval. The few species who had genuinely traded with humans, who had built real friendships, their platforms remained dark. They had conveniently been denied attendance to this emergency session. "You can't do this," Thorne protested, his voice hoarse. "Earth will never agree to relocation. Our colonies are our sovereign territory." "Your agreement is not required, Ambassador," Forlag stated coldly, the words sealing the fate of billions. "The vote has passed. The containment fleet has already been mobilized. Thorn's hand slipped into his pocket, his fingers wrapping around the cool metal of the emergency beacon. They had prepared for dozens of scenarios, but total, premeditated betrayal by the entire Mandate hadn't been one of them. Jax stepped closer, his hand near his concealed plasma pistol. "Sir, we need to leave. Now. The human delegation will remain here as our guests, for their own safety," the High Archon declared. "They will be held until the relocation is complete. Held as prisoners. As hostages." Thorn pressed the beacon. The small device grew warm in his pocket, confirming the transmission. A pre-coded, encrypted message was now screaming through subspace toward Earth. "Hostile. Betrayal. Prepare for war." "Actually," Thorn said, straightening his back and looking the High Archon directly in his multiple eyes, a gesture of profound disrespect. "We won't be staying." Jax moved with the fluid precision of a lifelong soldier. He threw a small, silver disc into the air. It burst into a brilliant, silent flash of white light, a multi-spectrum EMP that temporarily blinded every optical sensor and security system in the chamber. The human delegation ran. They had practiced this evacuation route dozens of times. Paranoia, some of the junior diplomats had called it. Now, that paranoia was saving their lives. As they reached their ship, alarms blared throughout the station. Thorn looked back at the grand, crystalline structure that had represented peace and cooperation for so many years. It had all been a lie. "Get us out of here," he ordered as they strapped in, the ship's engines already screaming to life. "Earth needs to know. They need to prepare." As their small diplomatic courier broke away from the station, evading the first wave of sluggish security vessels, Thorn thought about the billions of humans who would soon face the full might of the Mandate. But he also thought about something else. Something the Mandate, in all its ancient, arrogant wisdom, had forgotten. Humanity had never, ever lost a war for its own survival. Thorn's ship, the Emissary, was fast, but the Mandate's pursuit fleet was faster. Council warships were closing in, their weapons charging. "We can't outrun them forever," Jax said, his knuckles white as he gripped the tactical console. "They're hurting us, sir. Away from the main hyperspace lanes. Away from Earth." Thorn nodded grimly. "Any response to our distress signals?" Before Jax could answer, their ship's communication system crackled to life with a signal that wasn't Mandate standard. "Human vessel. Adjust course to these coordinates." Quickly, the voice was synthesized, but the language was a little-known trade dialect. It belonged to Emissary Lyra of the Crystalline Sovereignty, a species known for its logic and its silent disapproval of the Mandate's more aggressive policies. Thorn hesitated for only a moment. "Do it." The emissary dove into a dense debris field, the wreckage of some ancient, forgotten space battle. The Mandate ships held back, unwilling to risk their pristine hulls. Behind a particularly large, twisted piece of a destroyed warship, they found Lyra's personal vessel, a small, black ship that seemed to absorb the light around it. "Get aboard," Lyra transmitted. "Your ship is tracked. Mine is not." They made the transfer in a heart-stopping 60 seconds. As soon as they were aboard, Lyra's ship vanished, its cloaking technology activating, a technology the Mandate claimed was impossible to develop without their assistance. "Why are you helping us?" Thorn asked as Lyra piloted them through the debris field. "Because the Mandate is making a terrible mistake," Lyra's synthesized voice replied, her crystalline form shimmering inside her cockpit. "They fear you more than they have ever feared any other species." "Fear us?" "They've been manipulating us for 50 years. Yes, trying to control your development. But you kept surprising us. Your technology advanced in unexpected ways. Your colonies grew faster than projected. Your military strategies showed a concerning level of innovation." Jax laughed, a bitter, harsh sound. "Concerning to whom?" "The Mandate exists to maintain stability," Lyra explained. "Stability means predictability. New species are guided, controlled, shaped to fit the existing order. But humans, you don't fit. You adapt too quickly. You solve problems in ways we never considered. The Mandate believes if you are allowed to develop freely, you will overturn the entire galactic power structure within a single century." Thorn thought about the secret military installations hidden in the asteroid belt. The technological breakthroughs they had kept hidden. the advanced defense systems they had built while pretending to be far less advanced. The Mandate's fears weren't entirely unfounded. They are going to attack all your worlds simultaneously, Lyra continued, her voice urgent. They have gathered nearly their entire fleet. Over 10,000 ships. The plan is to overwhelm your defenses before you can organize any meaningful resistance. She transferred a massive data file to Thorn's datapad. Fleet compositions, attack vectors, timetables. They won't find us as defenseless as they think, Thorn said quietly. I suspect as much. Lyra's form pulsed with what might have been approval. That's why I am helping you. The Mandate's arrogance will be their downfall. They believe their own propaganda about your limited capabilities. As they approached the edge of Mandate space, Lyra gave them her final piece of intelligence. Go, warn your people, and show the Mandate why they were right to fear you. As their stolen ships sped toward Earth, carrying the salvation of their species in a single data file, Thorn looked back at the glittering expanse of Mandate space. They had called humanity a question. They were about to get an answer, written in fire. The emergency warning from Ambassador Thorn reached Earth in the middle of the night. Fleet Admiral Eva Rostova was awakened by the blaring of red alerts in her quarters at Global Defense Command, deep beneath the Cheyenne Mountain Complex. She was in the control room in 90 seconds, still pulling on her uniform jacket. Report, she barked, her eyes already scanning the dozens of screens that covered the walls. Thorn's emergency beacon activated 20 minutes ago, Admiral, her aide explained, his face pale. The message is coded Red Alpha. Total hostile intent. Confirmed betrayal. Mandate fleets are moving toward all human systems. Rostova's jaw tightened. They had drilled for this. Prayed it would never happen. But they had drilled for it. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. Authorization Alpha Omega 0. Initiate Protocol Aegis. The order rippled out from the mountain, a command that would awaken a sleeping giant. Wake up every colony leader and every military commander, Rostova ordered. We have less than 48 hours before they reach our outer colonies. As the command went out, something incredible happened. On Mars, the sprawling city of Olympus Mons, a marvel of human engineering, began to change. Sections of the city slid away, revealing massive railgun emplacements, each one the size of a skyscraper. What the Mandate had seen as a civilian habitat was, in fact, a fortress. Colonel Eris Thorn, Elias Thorn's own daughter, stood in the command center of Mars Defense. She watched the Mandate attack group appear on her tactical display. They were arrogant, moving in a tight, perfect formation, expecting an easy victory over a primitive colonial defense force. Let them get closer, she ordered, her voice as cold as the Martian night. Wait for my signal. The Mandate ships moved into attack range, their weapons charging. Their sensors showed nothing unusual. A few outdated defense satellites, easily dealt with. Exactly as planned. They're entering the optimal kill box, Colonel, her tactical officer reported. All hidden batteries are reporting ready. Eris Thorn took a deep breath. Initiate defense pattern echo. Light them up. The space around Mars suddenly blazed with energy. Hundreds of concealed weapon platforms, disguised as asteroids, communication relays, and orbital debris, revealed themselves. Advanced railguns, plasma cannons, and swarms of missile launchers opened fire simultaneously. The Mandate fleet's formation, a symbol of their rigid, predictable tactics, broke apart in confusion. Their shields, calibrated for known human weapon signatures, failed catastrophically against the unexpected assault. Dozens of ships exploded in the first 30 seconds. Second wave incoming, the tactical officer shouted. They're trying to flank us. Eris pressed a single red button on her command console. Release the swarm. From hidden bases carved deep into the canyons of Valles Marineris, thousands of small, automated combat drones launched. These weren't the simple maintenance drones the Mandate had seen before. These were advanced, AI-driven combat units, equipped with cloaking technology and powerful plasma charges developed in secret. The drones swarmed the Mandate ships, their small size making them nearly impossible to target. They attached themselves to enemy vessels, disrupting shields, overloading reactors, and targeting bridge sections. The larger Mandate ships, designed for grand, stately space battles, were helpless against these unconventional, terrifying tactics. Ma'am, We're picking up a priority transmission from the enemy command ship, her communications officer reported. They're requesting to speak with you. The Mandate commander's hologram appeared, his multiple eyes wide with shock and disbelief. What trickery is this? These weapons, this technology, it is impossible. You assumed we showed you everything we had. Colonel Thorne replied, her voice cold. That was your first mistake. For 50 years, you thought you were studying us. But we were studying you too. A massive explosion lit up the view screen as another Mandate vessel succumbed to the drone swarm. Fall back. Rigu. The enemy commander's hologram flickered and died as Eris cut the transmission. Launch Phase 2, she ordered. Hidden missile silos across the Martian surface opened, releasing a new wave of weapons. These missiles carried sophisticated electromagnetic pulses, designed specifically to disrupt Mandate technology that human scientists had carefully analyzed for decades. The retreating Mandate ships found their engines failing, their weapons going dark, their life support systems flickering. The carefully coordinated attack had devolved into chaos. Enemy fleet is in full retreat, the tactical officer reported, his voice filled with awe. 87 confirmed kills. 132 disabled. No casualties on our side. Eris Thorne nodded, but she wasn't celebrating. This was just the first battle. Send word to Earth Command. Mars defense successful. Enemy capabilities confirmed to match Lyra's intelligence. We're ready for the next phase. As she watched the remaining Mandate ships flee in disarray, she thought about all the years of preparation, all the technology they had kept hidden, all the defenses they had built in secret, all while presenting a facade of a harmless, primitive species to the galaxy. The Mandate thought they were containing a problem. Instead, they had given humanity 50 years to become the solution. While the Battle of Mars raged, the Mandate's Grand Armada, nearly 10,000 ships strong, was regrouping for its main assault on Earth. High Archon Forlag was enraged by the reports of failure from every colonial front. His forces, which were supposed to achieve victory in hours, were being decimated. They are using tactics that violate every rule of civilized warfare, he roared in the Mandate chamber. Suicide drones. Hidden weapons. They fight like animals. He ordered the Grand Armada to advance on Earth directly. He would crush this rebellion with overwhelming force. In the asteroid belt, Admiral Kalen Vance stood on the bridge of the UES Vengeance. His ship was just one of thousands emerging from humanity's hidden shipyards. They're coming, he said, his voice calm. Just as we predicted. Operation Ghost Fleet is a go. The human fleet, the real human fleet, had been built in complete secrecy. While the Mandate observed Earth's official shipyards producing basic patrol vessels, these advanced warships were being constructed in hollowed-out asteroids and hidden lunar bases. The Mandate fleet is about to get a nasty surprise, Vance's first officer grinned. As the Grand Armada entered the Sol system, their sensors showed the same thing they had seen at Mars, a small, token defense force. Arrogant fools, the Armada's commander sneered. They have learned nothing. He ordered his fleet forward, and then the trap was sprung. Hidden facilities across the asteroid belt powered up, creating a massive interdiction field that prevented faster-than-light travel. The Grand Armada was trapped. Then, from behind every major planet and moon, humanity's ghosts appeared. Stealth ships, using technology reverse-engineered and improved from emissary Lyra's vessel, materialized from nowhere. And the true human fleet, thousands of warships strong, moved in for the kill. The Battle of Sol was not a battle. It was a slaughter. The Mandate fleet, trapped and surrounded, found their rigid formations useless against the fluid, three-dimensional attack patterns of the humans. Human ships moved in coordinated swarms, their pilots linked telepathically through a new form of neural interface. They anticipated the Mandate's every move. The Mandate's greatest weapon had always been fear, the fear of their overwhelming power. But they had never understood that fear could work against them, too. Their own people, oppressed and controlled for centuries, were more afraid of being on the losing side than they were of the humans. As the battle raged, something unprecedented happened. Dozens of ships from the Mandate's own allied species began to turn on their masters. A wave of defections swept through the fleet. The carefully maintained order of the Mandate was collapsing under the weight of its own lies. On the bridge of his flagship, High Archon Forlag watched his civilization fall apart. His fleets were shattered. His allies were turning against him. He received one final transmission. It was from Admiral Rostova. High Archon Forlag, she said, her voice carrying across the stars. You came to contain humanity. You came to enforce your order. We are here to offer you a new one. An alliance of equals. Something your mandate never understood. The High Archon looked at the tactical display. At the human fleet, now joined by ships from a dozen former mandate races. He looked at the wreckage of his grand armada. He had no choice. Name your terms, he whispered, his voice the sound of a dying empire. The galaxy was changing, just as the mandate had feared. But not through destruction. Through liberation. He received one final transmission. It was from Admiral Rostova. High Archon Forlag, she said, her voice carrying across the stars. You came to contain humanity. You came to enforce your order. We are here to offer you a new one. An alliance of equals. Something your mandate never understood. The High Archon looked at the tactical display. At the human fleet, now joined by ships from a dozen former mandate races. He looked at the wreckage of his grand armada. He had no choice. Name your terms, he whispered, his voice the sound of a dying empire. The galaxy was changing, just as the mandate had feared. But not through destruction. Through liberation, he received one final transmission. It was from Admiral Rostova. High Archon Forlag, she said, her voice carrying across the stars. You came to contain humanity. You came to enforce your order. We are here to offer you a new one. An alliance of equals. Something your mandate never understood. The High Archon looked at the tactical display. At the human fleet, now joined by ships from a dozen former mandate races. He looked at the wreckage of his grand armada. He had no choice. Name your terms, he whispered, his voice the sound of a dying empire. The galaxy was changing, just as the mandate had feared. But not through destruction. Through liberation.